This is Nancy Pelosi's worst nightmare.
Hello, this is the United States Congressman Steve King. Will you help me in a bold and aggressive campaign to end abortion on demand, once and for all? Since the Roe v. Wade decision in 1973, 9 unelected men and women on the Supreme Court have played God with innocent human life. They've invented laws that condemn more than 45 million babies to painful deaths without trial for the crime of being inconvenient. But the good news is, with the pro-life gains made in the past election, the unborn now have an unprecedented number of allies. You and I finally have the opportunity to bring an end to the killing. You see, when the Supreme Court concocted the so-called right to an abortion, they left an opening for us in Congress to act on the question of when life begins. In Roe v. Wade, the court ruled, quote, "We need not resolve the difficult question of when life begins. The judiciary at this point in development of man's knowledge is not in a position to speculate as to the answer." Close quote. The court then admitted that if the personhood of an unborn baby is established, the right to abort, quote, "collapses for the fetus's right to life is then guaranteed specifically by the 14th Amendment," close quote. What the court was saying, if you look through the legal mumbo-jumbo, is that we in the Congress have the prerogative of setting as laws when life begins. The same judges who wrote Roe v. Wade actually admitted this. Of course, science has long held that life begins at conception. That's why I'm co-sponsoring a Life at Conception Act, which, by legally defining that life begins at conception, would simply bring the legal definition of life in line with the biological definition, in effect overturning Roe v. Wade. That's why I hope I can count on you to sign special pro-life petitions for both your senators and your congressmen, and, if at all possible, I hope I can count on you to make a generous contribution of $50 to the National Pro-Life Alliance's campaign to pass a Life at Conception Act and overturn Roe v. Wade. Your generous contribution of $50 or more will help pay for collecting petitions from up to 1 million Americans and for briefing hundreds of newspaper columnists, editorial writers, and talk radio hosts. I have to tell you from my perspective as a pro-lifer in Congress that every pro-lifer's activism is essential in our fight against abortion on demand. But I have especially come to appreciate the members of the National Pro-Life Alliance. Their members nationwide are perhaps the most active and focused on the ultimate vision of eliminating abortion on demand, not just regulating it. That's why I hope you will go all out to support their efforts to overturn Roe v. Wade by passing a Life at Conception Act. Your generous contribution will also help pay for hard-hitting radio, TV, and newspaper advertising, which the National Pro-Life Alliance is committed to run in target states. The wavering politicians will have to either vote to protect innocent babies or face hundreds of thousands of angry voters back home. If you can just help bring public opinion to bear on my colleagues in Congress, I'm convinced that we can get this bill to the forefront of the American debate and outlaw abortion once and for all. That's why it's vital you sign the petitions I mentioned at once. And please make this massive advertising and petition drive possible by sending a special contribution of $50 to the National Pro-Life Alliance.